Dean Daniel here, reminding you that sometimes it's easier to act out than admit your feelings. Thanks to Hedwig, Carlo, and new friend Emma. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and words are in your ears. Um, Hello, welcome to Probably Bad Podcast, a podcast which is definitely bad. I'm Mod Pencil.
And I'm producer Nick. And today, the probably bad RPG idea is watching and then talking about the Dragonlance film, Dragonlance Dragons of Autumn Twilight. Or is it Dragonlance Dragons of Autumn Twilight? I never know where to put the emphasis in these sorts of films.
But yes, it sure is a D&D movie. Like, if you just handed a bunch of actors a piece of paper with the phrase D&D movie on it as a script, they would act this out. Like, I genuinely find it hard to think of things to talk about because it's just a D&D movie.
It sure is. It technically accomplishes that very narrow task.
It is. If
To
you
give
just
you a bit
sat
of
down
background,
and were asked to make a D&D movie, you would make this movie.
yeah, it's Yeah, Wikipedia describes it as a 2008 American animated film, the first to be based on the Dragonlance campaign setting of the Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game. As of yeah, it's gonna remain first and only, I think, for a good while.
Hmm.
Because I haven't experienced much Dragonlance stuff. Have you?
Not really.
That's saying something.
Um,
'Cause you've experienced all the games,
I have experienced all the games. Sadly, this is one of the games I have not experienced.
so it
Um,
doesn't count.
yeah, I'm afraid. Yeah, I don't. So I'm afraid we can't judge whether or not it was a good Dragonlance movie. Um,
Yeah, that's
this
nerd
is
shit.
yeah. We are cool jocks. You see, is the issue.
Yeah. Now, I thought I'd kick things off by just giving people a bit of background to this episode, talk about what actually happens in the film. I've got the synopsis in front of me. Um, so spoilers for an incredibly down the middle mediocre animated film from 2008. The film begins with the return of a group of friends consisting of Tanis Half-Elven, Sturm Brightblade, Caramon Majer, Raistlin Majer, Flint Fireforge, and Tasselhoff Burfoot. Kitiara Uthmatar, the half-sister of the twins Caramon and Raistlin, was supposed to be there as well, but for reasons unexplained at the time could only send a mysterious note. It was F sharp. The companions had separated 5 years previously to pursue their own quests. On the eve of their reunion, the companions discovered that Solace, the village where many of them made their home, is very different from the peaceful village they had left 5 years previous. Solace has been taken over by a religious order called the Seekers. They are collaborating with the Dragon High Lords, who are preparing for the conquest of the continent of Ansalon. Solace is now an armed camp as hobgoblin soldiers patrol the once peaceful village. Tanis, Flint, and Tasselhoff meet up outside of Solace, and as they enter the village, they are accosted by Fewmaster Toad. I'm just gonna have spell that out for you. Fewmaster.
Yeah, I apologize, by the way, to any Dragonlance fans who are like, "Oh my gosh, Feud Master Toad finally made it to the big screen." We don't know these people, so feel free to leave angry comments in our email telling us about these people.
Yeah, this does remind me of that tweet about Star Wars. I'm gonna try and get that up because it definitely rings true here. Tumblr user, yeah, it wasn't a tweet. It's Tumblr user Gom Jabbar said, every time a new Star Wars movie, every time a new Star War movie or show is announced, all the fans are like, "OMG, Glup Shitto is back." I'm definitely getting that feeling as a Dragonlance outsider of just some of these people I am supposed to care about because in this Wikipedia article, they've got blue names, and there's a whole wall of text when I go through to their
Yeah,
pages.
it's
Like,
very possible we're not the target audience for this movie, but when does that stop the internet from, like... It
I,
stopped me from talking, certainly.
I don't know. I feel like we're mostly the target audience. We play a lot of role playing games.
Hmm.
We've definitely watched and enjoyed some fantasy films. Like, I didn't know anything about Lord of the Rings when I watched Fellowship of the Ring when it came out, but I was just like, yeah, I'm open to it.
Hmm.
Want to see it. But I went in with the same kind of hopeful, optimistic attitude
I
that I
know, I
did with
think
that. Just
perhaps
like,
the possibility is that because Dragonlance is one of the big settings in D&D,
"Hmm,
it comes off as very generic more because other D&D has copied it, which is very possible. But also, it just... Anyway,
yeah, yeah, you could be right there.
see, we are
That is a
being
recurring
fair.
theme.
Please do not send the Dragonlance writing team to beat us.
Yeah, definitely not. So back to Few Master Toad. A hobgoblin commander he is, and some of his minions. Forced to fight, the threesome killed Toada's minions. Please, if you're writing a non-fictional article and you refer to a group of people, don't say threesome. Please. It makes me think of bad things. I don't want to think of Tasselhoff Burfoot getting it on.
I do. So there's a dissenting opinion.
Okay, well, I'm hitting the kink shame button and I'm hitting it hard. They continued to the inn of the last home to meet up with their friends, and as circumstance would have it, two barbarians, Riverwind and Gold Moon, which, at least they're spelled normally. Kitiara Uthmatar is absent, having sent a letter to Tanis saying that her new lord is keeping her busy, which is I I really found myself struggling with that particular story arc of just this person I don't know anything about is important, but we're just getting bits of paper from her.
Hmm.
Like that's it. I should care about Kitiara Uthmatar. There's definitely a sign it's a film for the fans.
Yeah.
The companions soon discover that the Seekers are searching for a blue crystal staff. When Hedrick, a Seeker, is accidentally burnt when Riverwind pushes him into the fireplace, Goldmoon heals him with a blue crystal staff, a holy artifact of the goddess Mishakal, which possesses healing powers. Upon seeing Goldmoon with the item he had been searching for, Hedrick calls for the guards, causing the companions to flee Solace. Unknown to them at the time, this pulls the companions into a great struggle against the goddess Tahisis, the Queen of Darkness and leader of the enemy forces. I'm going to stop there. It's a long ass synopsis. Do you have any do you have any thoughts about that? That's probably about the first third
Hmm.
or half of the
Yeah,
film.
I mean, like, so it's... So it's, like, to be clear, it's not a bad movie. It certainly is, like, you certainly are going to go fight an evil dragon goddess,
Yeah.
who I'm informed is from the stories.
Mm.
And it does have the bizarrely hilarious choice of all dragons are CGI and only dragons are CGI,
Oh yeah, yeah, that was weird.
which I don't know if it's meant to make them seem sort of unreal or ethereal, or if it was just they got a very specifically earmarked CGI budget.
Yeah,
But
possibly. I feel like with that I can definitely see what they were going for. That's an interesting idea, using a different medium for
yeah,
the the big mysterious creatures, but it
yeah,
just did not work at all.
yeah, I feel like maybe it would have worked better if it was demons or spirits or something.
Mm.
Um, it did have the, like, weirdly cool, like, thing that at some points Dragonborn, I don't know if that's the word it would be using here, but dragon people disguise themselves as normal people, but they're still in CGI, so you can relatively easily tell who's a secret dragon because they're the one in
That
CGI.
was God, that was the worst bit, I swear to God.
There
The fun
was...
thing was, like, the animation is, like, okay. It feels like an 80s cartoon.
Yeah, it's
Just
pretty
kind of
solid animation.
Yeah, like fairly cheap, but not the worst. But then the CG things come in and they make everything around it look worse.
Hmm. It's
And then the 2D stuff makes the 3D look bad.
it's yeah, because everything in the cartoon, like in the animation, looks like Nick said, looks like an somewhat cheap but perfectly serviceable cartoon. And the CGI allow me to just drop everything I own. Um, the CGI looks. I mean, it also looks like early '90s CGI, I guess,
Yeah.
but everything has that sort of weirdly polished look that bad CGI has.
Oh, yeah, I get what you mean.
It all looks shiny, and it does. Like again, it maybe would have worked if it had been demons or ghosts or something else that's meant to look slightly unreal and slightly unnatural. But
Mm,
for a dragon, it just comes off as all the dragons are uncomfortably moist.
yeah, it's weird. I'm
Uh,
I've been really struggling with some of the names in this as well.
mm.
Like everything is conspiring to bring you out of the story.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe so. Okay, so they do say we're going to go to we do that. They do say we're going to need to go find Dragonlance and things like that, which I assume would be meaningful had I read the thing. But I don't know. So I guess you could argue this is our fault for going into something for a franchise that we don't really know. But there does seem to be a lot of things that are only really explained if you do know Dragonlance.
Yeah, that's the problem. Even things that ostensibly exist for the fans, they need to do a job of explaining what's happening. They need to be
Um,
coherent in themselves.
but yeah, there's also a dragon who adopts a bunch of kids, which is weird, and is under the impression they're baby dragons.
Wasn't that in an episode we did a while back about
It
a
was. We
dragon?
will be suing. But yes, but is under the impression they are baby dragons, and goes to fight the evil dragon on the grounds that the evil dragon is trying to eat her babies.
Well, yeah, it's an evil dragon. What do you expect?
A sort of villain is okay. So one scene I did like was the hero going, and the Lord of Light, the gods of light will stand by us, and then is just knocked unconscious with a mace, which I
Yeah,
feel should happen more heroic things.
that worked okay. I think some of the jokes when it's
Yeah,
not
like
the
it
most
had pretty good jokes.
yeah, when it's not super generic. I'm a dwarf. When are we gonna get money so we can get some ale? When it's not shit like that, it's actually okay. Like my favorite line is probably one of the more kind of sorcerer types doing some impressive magic, and the rogue turning to a wizard with a book says like, "Hey, look, she can cast spells without without moving her lips. What do you think of that, huh?" And he's like, I'm doing a ritual. She's pulling magic from the ether itself. It's not the same thing." I
Yeah,
really enjoyed that.
like it is a good film. It's just
Also
I
very
think
bad.
it's just also very like it just runs to the problem that like basically if you just filmed your D&D campaign, you probably get something close to this.
Yeah.
There's an elf and a dwarf and a wizard and a cleric. And again, it might be that it's because other ones are based on them, but they just don't seem to have anything to sort of distinguish them from anyone else.
Yeah. I'm gonna I'm gonna read through a bit more synopsis because it just has some beautiful names in it that I'm gonna really struggle with. The companions cross a nearby lake by boat in their escape, and Wrestling notes that the constellations known as the Valiant Warrior and the Queen of Darkness, representations of the true gods Paladine and Takesis, are absent from the sky, which he claims means that the two gods, the heads of good and evil respectively, have come to Kryn. The next day, the group is attacked by Draconians. That's at least self-explanatory. These creatures are numerous among the Dark Queen's armies and often serve as foot soldiers. Thank you for the sort of parenthetical remark, Wikipedia editor. The companions are driven into the woods known as Darkenwood, Not the Darkwood, Darken, where they encounter undead warriors who, upon seeing the staff, make them go to the Forest Master. The Forest Master charges the group to go to the ruined city of Xak Tsaroth to retrieve the discs of Mishakal, containing the teaching of the true gods and instrumental for the restoration of the faith in the true gods. Xak Tsaroth is spelled Xak space Tsaroth. So your mouth goes in all directions when you try and say it.
Hmm.
After a trip on the backs of Pegasi, the companions enter Xak Tsaroth and eventually meet some guilty dwarves. No, not guilty dwarves, gully dwarves. Diminutive and stupid creatures. Wow, that's just harsh. One of the
Yeah,
dwarves,
like it does seem very mean to a lot of creatures.
yeah, one of the dwarves, Bupu, Bupu, leads them to the dragon Onyx, who is killed by the holy power of the blue crystal staff. When this happens, Goldmoon is consumed by its flame and presumed dead. However, they find her later resting at the foot of a statue of Mishakal, which now bears the blue crystal staff, having blessed Goldmoon with true clerical powers. The companions leave with the discs of Mishakal, and Bupu also gives an ancient spellbook formerly belonging to the Archmage. Give me a second. Fistandantilus. Fistandantilus. Archmage, to Racelyn, and then returns home to her fellow gully dwarves. After returning to Solace to look for someone who might be able to read the discs, and finding it occupied, the companions are captured by the evil armies and, along with an elf named Gilthanas, the son of the leader of the elven nation of Qualinesti, are captured and chained in a slave caravan. Just going to point out, this is very late into the film, like at this probably 70-minute
Hmm.
mark,
As you may have
and they
noticed from
bring
how
in
much
a
synopsis
new,
we've read out.
yeah, bring in a new character with a long name. Yeah, en route to the fortress and mining site of Pax Tharkus, the group is freed by Gilthanas' brother Portheos. They escape to Qualinesti and decide to incite a rebellion in Pax Tharkus and free the slaves of Dragon High Lord Verminard's control. Verminard is the big bad, by the way, um, in this story. Like, obviously working with the Queen of Darkness, yada yada, but Verminard is, yeah, major bad guy. The companions journey through a secret passage underground to Pax Tharkus and devise a plan to free the slaves. They also heal Elistan, a dying seeker and the leader of the slaves. Well, that's a great job. That is leader of the slaves. Trying to sneak women and children away from Pax Tharkus, the companions are attacked by the Dragon Lord Verminard and his dragon. However, his dragon is killed by another insane dragon. After his dark goddess Thakesis turns away from him in order to battle with Paladine, Verminard is killed by Tanis and Sturm. Elistan is able to read the discs, and Goldmoon and Riverwind are married. The end. They had planned a sequel, I think, because this is a very cut down version of the book it's adapted from, where I
Yeah.
believe Kitiara Uthmatar is supposed to have a lot to do.
Yeah, like it does. A lot of plot points do feel like very abrupt. I know,
Yeah,
like I've not read the book, as I've said a few times, in case you haven't noticed, but it does sort of have the feeling of when when you're watching an adaptation that is sort of essentially trying to just hit the beats, and
yeah.
a thing shows up, and it's like, yeah, see, this is the thing from the story, and
Mm.
then it has to sort of gloss past that. It does kind of have that feeling a bit.
So it has an 80s Dune problem, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right there. Is very truncated, and the sheer amount of information you have to remember is really difficult. The thing is, after watching it, I just could not remember like pretty much anything aside from the joke I liked, and that some of them had silly names, and there were dragons and a staff and discs, and just all the MacGuffins, really.
Yeah, like I assume one of the MacGuffins was a Dragonlance.
Possibly, I'm not sure if there was a Dragonlance involved. They may have talked about a Dragonlance at some point as like maybe building up for a sequel. But
Mm.
yeah, it was really
Like,
just a whole lot of like the discs and the staff and spell books and things.
yeah, so part of the conceit, which I'm informed is an important part of Dragonlance lore, is that the gods of good have left the world behind and are now returning, which, again, it just feels kind of. I don't know, it has the feeling of it's meant to be a triumphant moment, but it's just. Yeah, one of the companions is one of the gods in disguise. This apparently in the books too. And I don't know, it feels like it should be a triumphant moment, but it just comes off as slightly hollow, which I know. I think it feels a lot like I said, it's not bad. It's just there's a reason I've been letting Nick Blake read off the synopsis. There's just very little to say about it.
Yeah, the
It's a
most
dragon.
damning things I could say about it is just reading off all the names of characters
It's the
and the
dragon.
things they do.
Yeah, it is a Dragonlance movie, and if you want to see the Dragonlance characters go on a little adventure, it is a movie about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I can't say it's bad. I just can't say much about it, which
Watch
is ideal
Crawl.
for this bonus episode.
It's not a bonus. This is going out in the main feed.
Oh well, shit. I guess it was fun having a podcast, guys.
Yeah. I just want to reiterate one of the names that stood out to me. Archmage Fist and Dantalus. Just it bears repeating.
Hmm. Like it did have some good names.
Really?
I like the names.
Okay, some of them I'll give it to them,
They very much felt like names a D&D party would come up with.
yeah. I think that some are all right, but I just cannot swallow Tasselhoff Burfoot.
Hmm. Yeah, the villain was somewhat generically evil.
Oh yeah, Verminard.
Hmm. I think he might have been. Apparently, he was slightly more like fleshed out in the books, but here he's just an evil man who wants to do evil things.
Yeah. I'm impressed at some of the cast. They've got some mainstay kind of voice acting people like D. Bradley Baker, Fred Tatasciore, um, Phil Lamar, but also like Kiefer Sutherland and Lucy Lawless.
Yeah, like the
Those
acting
are
was good.
they've yeah they put some real money there,
Hmm.
and I respect that. It's definitely I'd say they put in a medium amount of effort. It's and that
Like
does
it's like
show.
yeah, like it's definitely something that I know. It's definitely something that people didn't just crank out in an afternoon.
Yeah, it's the problem was they cared, but they expected everyone to automatically care as well.
Hmm. And
It
who
probably
knows? Maybe they did if they weren't us.
yeah.
It
So I
is
think
if you are a big Dragonlance fan, feel free to send us angry emails.
yes. I especially don't care because I'm not the one that checks the inbox.
I mean, I'm not the one that checks the inbox. Mod Paper is the one who checks the inbox, so
Oh
feel
yeah,
free to yell at Mod Paper. They're not here to disagree with us.
feel mean now.
Please don't yell at Mod Paper.
Yeah, don't do that.
They're ill. Um,
Oh, okay. I've just looked up the guy who directed um the Thingamy, Dragonlance. What we've spent half an hour talking about. He did some storyboard stuff on Batman the animated series,
hmm,
which
would
just
have been
having that
greatly
on your
improved if the Joker was inexplicably CGI.
that'd be amazing. Joker's trick.
Hmm.
Um, I just think having that on the on your CV is automatically a sign that oh yeah you're a proper animation person because that absolutely ruled.
Yeah, like it suddenly wasn't like badly made. It's just
Yeah,
I think it just wasn't like I'd maybe recommend it if you are a big Dragonlance fan.
yeah. Although if you're a big Dragonlance fan, you might be annoyed that like a 500 or whatever page novel is reduced to a 90-minute film.
Hmm. If you're a big
So
Dragonlance fan, you've probably stopped listening already, actually. So
yeah,
Dragonlance fans can get fucked.
yeah. If you're a Dragonlance hater, then watch the film and delight in how bad they have used the source material, but also take a look at yourself if you're that invested. Now, for our next special milestone episode that we've been doing the past for the past couple of years, we'll be looking at Dungeons and Dragons the animated series, I believe, because
Hmm.
the next Dungeons and Dragons film isn't out until at least next year, I believe.
Yeah, there is a new one coming out.
Yes, which I'm excited for because that's got some fun people. I believe it's got Chris Pine, who is one of my
Hmm.
preferred Chris's.
Yeah, I do notice that it doesn't have Chris Pratt voicing everyone, which is an improvement over a lot of films these days.
As very much an improvement. It's if you've seen him in Into the Woods, he does a very fun sort of camp turn uh, performing Agony, which is just a ridiculous number. I think just that alone, if you want to look it up on YouTube or something, that's a good sign that he might approach that kind of fantasy thing with a nice um, sort of wry
Hmm.
take. Because we all know that it's a little bit silly.
Yeah.
The hobby, the genre, and everything. It's very, very good and it's very, very fun, but you you can't be as sort of po-faced as some bits of Dragonlance lore, for example, is.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I
I
got my
think a
fingers
D and
crossed
d
for that.
movie probably does have to be somewhat jokey.
Yeah. I hope it's literally just Chris Pine and a couple of other actors in a room playing D&D.
Hmm.
Just bring in
They're not allowed to leave until the game is over.
yeah, bring in Vin Diesel and Judi Dench. I will not elaborate. Anyway, that is all either of us can think of to say about Dragonlance. We hope you've enjoyed this
It
episode.
certainly is a film.
This is a quasi live episode because we're having to record it on the day it goes up.
Hmm.
So
We can hear
enjoy.
you.
Yeah. It's just like our live
Steve.
stuff, except you can't ask us any questions
Hmm.
or drop bits in the chat, and it's still pre-recorded. But apart from that, it's just like our live stuff.
Yeah.
So subscribe to our Patreon, which is Probably Bad RPG Ideas. Email us at probablybadpodcast@gmail.com for any questions or suggestions. Watch a better fantasy film than Dragonlance unless you're getting some kind of clout or remuneration for it.
And
And
remember to
remember
have
to
a
have a
probably
pretty
bad
bad day.